Shalom Haverim. That means hello, my friends. It's one of the things we learn. Shalom means, besides peace, also means hello. It can also mean health and wholesomeness. So a few weeks ago, actually from July 13 to July 26, we were in Israel for a tour. Before I start, just some fun facts here. So I want somebody to guess how many pictures Mirella took of our trip to Israel. Okay, Audrey? 2,000 pictures. Very good guess. Anybody else want to guess something different? 3,000 going once. Anything else? 10,000. It's a little overreaching. 7,600 pictures. That's for the 12 days we were in Israel. And she also took 3,400 in our Austria. So after Israel, we went to Austria for 5 days. So altogether, she was 11,000 pictures, so close to Denisa. So, and the Mocans took about 1,500 pictures too, I think. So as you can see, it would be hard to take 11,000 pictures and put them down. We still have 400 pictures. Hopefully we'll get through most of them. And I heard somebody say maybe less talking, more pictures. So we won't explain everything for you here. But before we go, I wanted to give you just a little bit idea of where we went, so you can see here. So this is a map of Israel. It's a map of Israel. So we started here in the middle. You can leave it there because I can. Right. Tel Aviv is somewhere in the middle. Basically, what we did, we went up the coast. We went up north. We spent some time around Galilee. And then we went our way to Jerusalem. We spent 5 days in Jerusalem. And then from Jerusalem, we flew down to the bottom, a resort town of Eilat, where we crossed into Jordan. And from Jordan, then we made our way in 3 days back up to Amman or Amman area airport, where we flew back home or to Vienna. So that's just a rough idea of what we did. So the country of Israel is very small in size. From the top to the bottom is only 260 miles. And at its widest, it's like 80 miles. But in some narrow areas, it's like 8 or 6 miles or 9 miles, if we don't count the West Bank as part of it. Israel has about 10 million people, whereas 10 million people, 80% of them being Jews and the other ones being Arabs. That's not counting the West Bank. They're just counting Israel without the West Bank. So it's roughly the size of New Jersey in terms of area. So that's kind of like where it fits in. Okay, so 2 more points before I start. One of the first things our guide asked is, why did you come to visit Israel? So, people raised their hands and said a few things. Some people said, I want to walk in the footsteps of Jesus. Some other people said, well, I want to learn more about the Bible and see how it fits the background, and so I can make connections with the Bible. Others said, like on a religious pilgrimage. And I'll cover the reason, what I said in a second. But what our guide said is he gave us a slightly different perspective. What he said is that even though you came here, you paid for the airfare and so on, but he said you didn't actually choose to come to Israel, but God invited you to come and visit, and you said yes. So that was his perspective. I think it was a good perspective to have. It was God's invitation that we came, and we went there and we visited Israel. When it was my time to share a little bit, I said the reason why I came to Israel was for the same reason why I'm dressed like this here today. It's because my wife really wanted to. So that's the reason why I went to Israel, and that's the reason why I'm wearing this outfit here, not because I chose but because my wife really, really wanted me to, and so I loved my wife, and that's why I did it. All right, but nonetheless, it's been a good experience. Israel is great. Like I said, my philosophy is, try to have fun wherever you are, whether or enjoy. And so for me, it was that. Obviously, learning more about the Bible definitely helps. Now, walking in the footsteps of Jesus, the perspective is that, the Roman Catholics, they have their own traditional places where something happened. The Greek Orthodox have their own traditional places where something happened. The Jewish perspective has their own tradition. Maybe in some areas, Arabs have their own perspective. Sometimes the Protestants have their own perspective. So my point of that is not to take everything, this is exactly where something took place. So when we're going to show something, I say, this is where it is. Keep that in mind. Each site, you have to dig a little deeper and find out, is this a traditional or more of a historical, archaeological perspective that shows a good, we're kind of open and flexible with that idea, but nonetheless, it's somewhere, as our tour guide, it's somewhere here in this area. So maybe it's not exactly here, but somewhere nearby, and that was fine with us and with me too. So, all right. So we could not include everything, and we're not experts on this matter. We might have misremember, or we might not explain everything fully, so please forgive us ahead of time, all right? So let's start with the pictures and less talking. There you go. So we departed SFO for a 14-hour flight. This is us there. We had 13 people on that flight from Portland and Woodlake churches. This is the flight track. 14 hours direct over to Tel Aviv from San Francisco, flying above Greenland and Iceland. And as we're flying above Romania, we took a picture of it. This is the town where Mirella and I are from, actually Daniel and Daniela too, Oradea. So this is the closest Mirella, Daniel, and Daniela has come to visiting Romania since they've been back. So it's 5 miles above. We took a picture of it, and that's where, that's that. First day we got there at evening, our group, we spent in Tel Aviv, their hotel. This is at the airport, welcoming us to Israel. Walking down the hallway, there was a great, beautiful mural there. All right, this is pictures by the beach here, Mediterranean beach, you can't see. Again, Tel Aviv is a modern city. It's younger than Sacramento. It's only been around since 1909. That's when it was founded on sand dunes from Joppa, which is 3 miles below it. It was founded as a new city. Actually, sometimes Tel Aviv is the most expensive city to live in the world. In 2021, it was the most expensive city to live in. Today is in the top 10, with inflation in New York and some other places going up. So that's where that is. I forgot to mention that when we landed at Ben Gurion Airport, that's the town of Lydda, where Peter, we talked about 3 weeks ago, healed Aeneas. All right, so Tel Aviv, like I said, is a modern city, economic, industrial, technical, financial city, major city in Israel. It's more secular. On the day we got there, the next day, it was Shabbat, or Sabbath day, and unlike Jerusalem, which is very kosher, very traditional, people were walking, running around, doing stuff. So it was not that. This is one of the beaches nearby where it mentions that it's segregated by days. One day men can go to the beach, and one day women can go to the beach, but not all together at the same time. More a skyline of Tel Aviv. This was what we were called, the AFC Summer Pilgrims. So day 2. All right, day 2, as we mentioned, we started at Jaffa, or Joppa. They call it Yaffo. A walking tour over Peter, had the vision with clean food. And Jonah, that's where Jonah departed for away from God. Caesarea, by the sea, and we'll talk about it. I don't want to read everything again because otherwise it will take a long time. So this is Jaffa. You guys will recognize, right, the sculpture of Jonah, the whale there. Oftentimes when our tour guide, before we go anywhere and take pictures, he says, don't go there, don't rush out there and take pictures. Let me first talk about it so you guys can see where you're looking at. So oftentimes we find places where to sit. So on stairs or some other things that were available, we sat down and he talked to us for 10, 15 minutes. I was not a very good student. I rarely did I sit down and listen to what he said. We were sometimes wandering around and taking pictures. But anyway, that's that. So this is Joppa, in the old city of Joppa. That used to be an Arab town till after the War of Independence in 1948. At that time, a lot of the Arabs left. And currently, some Arabs came back. It's 30% Arab population in Joppa, or Jaffa. This is a cool street sign. These are some of the alleyways there in Joppa. After the independence, whatever, as I mentioned, a lot of the Arabs left. This became like an artist colony. A lot of artists are here. So anyway, these are some of the alleyways. They're pretty tight, more alleyways. This is the house. The house of Simon, the tanner, right by the seaside. All right. Today is owned by some Armenian couple, but basically that's all we saw. We had we had devotions, by the way, everywhere we went. Now, for those of you who are Romanian, maybe you can start reading this. And, oh, that's Romanian. As we were walking by, this was on Shabbat, we hear somebody singing and talking, and said, hey, I think that's Romanian there. So it was. Mirla tried to go inside, but they told her to take her shoes off or something. You'll find out there's a lot of connection. I didn't realize that there's a lot of connections in Israel and Jews and Judaism in general, Romania. The reason, and I told that to our guy, he says, yes, of course, because a lot of the Zionist movement happened in Eastern Europe, from Romania, Ukraine, and those areas. So there's a lot of connections with Romania, which I didn't really know. This is more from Joppa, a clock tower. More pictures of, so that's where we were at the hotel, and that. And then we went to Caesarea, 30 miles away. Caesarea was a port that Herod built. I talked about it a couple of weeks ago in a sermon, so I don't want to spend a lot of time. There's a lot of mosaic. This is where Herod built a very good, nice-looking palace. This is where the Romans, it was a seat of the Roman governor. They had a lot of stuff there. They built this theater. They call it a theater instead of an amphitheater. Amphitheater means it's all the way around, technical term. So that's why they call it a theater. Here we are. This is the circus, in Greek, the hippodrome. So it was, you can't see very much, but apparently these are the VIP seats. You can't tell that. This is where Herod would be sitting, and the reason why he was sitting here right around the turn is because that's where the most accidents would happen. So the chariots, horses, right, hippodrome, and that's where he would want to see who's crashing and who's hurt. That's why his VIP seat was not in the middle, but it was over here. Going back, okay, this was his palace, somewhere here. He had a swimming pool. So you can see it was very, very near the sea. You can't see much because it's ruined. More views of Joppa. Here's our bus. And Mirla there saying hi. Going out of Caesarea. Now, Caesarea, today, our tour guide says like Beverly Hills. You can see the only Ferrari that we saw in Israel. And the only golf course. And the only golf course in Israel is right here. That's it. A full-size golf course. We ate at a Druze restaurant. Next, we traveled to something called Mount Precipice. This is in Nazareth, where they wanted to push Jesus off the cliff. This is a tunnel on the way there, Nazareth. So this is from up high. This is up on the mountain, looking down into the valley below. The valley below is called the Valley of Jezreel. The Valley of Jezreel, where a lot of wars were happening back in there. This is looking towards current modern city of Nazareth. Back then it was very tiny. They said it was only like 100 people, or at the most 200 people, so it was very tiny. Most of the city of Nazareth was located around this area, which is the Church of Annunciation. We didn't go and visit it. We just looked from a distance, and we took a lot of pictures from up high, looking down in the valley. and that's what you'll see here. This is the valley of Jezreel. And somewhere back here is a town called Megiddo, where a valley of Armageddon, Armageddon war is connected to that here. Okay, so more pictures of sitting down of that valley, Israel flag. And they had a lot of nice street art. Okay, walking up now to the next site, which our next site is where tradition says that Jesus gave the commission, the Great Commission. Right after the resurrection, he told the disciples to go to Galilee because there he will meet them. And he met him there on a mountain. This is the only mountain in that general area that fits the bill. So they think this is the mountain of the Great Commission. It's called Mount Arbel. It's a high up. It's like 1,200 feet up. And the below area is like 1,000 feet below. So it's kind of windy and scary when you're up there because, it was high up there. You can see below the Sea of Galilee. Now, our guide always mentioned that this is, from here, you can see the whole ministry where Jesus would have walked. Because it's only in this area that Jesus ministered. From Magdala, which we'll talk about, all the way to where the pigs ran off into the sea. It was basically in this area, in the northwest area of the Sea of Galilee. Okay, us here with the wind blowing. And there you go, pictures from up above, looking down towards Capernaum. Tiberias is another town on the Sea of Galilee. And so to show you how different it is in Israel, right, they have obviously different money. That's their money. That's their new Israeli shekel. That's what they use. And not only that, but we never saw a black crow. They have different crows. These are the type of crows they have. It's called a hooded crow. So even the crows are different. All right, day 3. Is it Daniel?
So the first spot we'll talk about, obviously, like Brother Sorin said, we went to all these spots for that day. We're going to start with the Chaldean Nature Reserve. So this is way at the top. Normally when you think of Israel, you would think of a lot of desert, dry land, but check this out. So here, after we went all the way up, and we were at the Sea of Galilee, just like we saw Jesus' ministry, so the Jordan feeds into the top of the Sea of Galilee, but the water comes from up here. And this is groundwater and runoff water. It's just, when we got there, we were actually hiking through some beautiful green, lush trees. Let's see if we see more of it. So this is kind of the map. I just took a screenshot with my phone so we can see where we're at and how the water runs off. Let's see. I don't know how to play with that, so let me do this.
Is this a desert? Maybe not.
It's not that long of a video, but there's a lot of water up here. And this, right now, we're up there in the northeast corner of Israel. And this water is a source of life for the Israelites. There's more water pictures. And let's see, we're going to go through some of these kind of quick because we do have a lot of days to cover. Okay, well, we're still there. Does anybody know what this is? Take a guess. It's Ahab. What do you think this is? Ahab in what? Jezebel's time?
Prison.
Tell them what it is, Sorin.
It's an altar.
It's an altar.
A replica of an altar.
Who do you think built this altar? Jeroboam. He built this altar because remember he didn't want people to go into Jerusalem to sacrifice, and he tried taking it into his hands. And this is in the same region, so we haven't moved. We're actually in the same region for this whole entire day, most of it. So he built an altar there, which really displeased God because where were you supposed to sacrifice? You were supposed to go to Jerusalem.
How big is it? Like, we can't really tell us a picture.
Yeah, let's see. So that was built to spec. So how big it is, let's see. So we're doing a devotion, they're talking about it. Oh, we don't have a picture, right, Sorin?
It's 7 by 7 by 4. 7 feet by 7 feet by 4 high.
Yeah.
So the frame then would have been the
The
outside.
outer side,
The outside. So here we're still in the same area. We're talking about it. This right here is well, they called it so the Canaanite gate dating to the time of the Hebrew patriarch Abraham, and an Israelite gate from Ahab and Jezebel's time. And then on that day, it also said, and here we'll begin to understand the challenging geopolitical reality that modern Israel faces today. So that was a gate that would have been used. Did we take a video of this one, Sorin?
Yeah, there's next to
All right. So this, because the video is going to tell you what that is.
Pay a visit to his citizens, his subjects, and I have to bow down to the nasty king. Because Gary, yes, you are sitting on the Israelite throne in the city gate in which Ahab would have sat almost 3,000 years ago. And yeah, I got it found. Thank you very much for volunteering.
What do you get? Okay. So that's part of the city gate. When you enter into the city, Ahab would have sat there. They had some 3 others sitting to the back, like serving as elders who would help. If they were hearing cases, they would kind of all collaborate and come up with a verdict, if you will. So he was reenacting with what would happen at the beginning of the city gate when people would walk in. I think so this is already the next spot. So the key part about the water that we saw on Tel Dan is right there. When we first got up there, down the valley, you saw Syria there, and there were the old gates separating the 2 countries, where there was a lot of obviously a lot of war taking place. Part of the 6-day war, when Israel, well, they were attacked. We heard on Sunday Brother Pete preached about, well, what is Israel's holiest day of the year? Does anybody remember it from Sunday? Yeah. And Egypt and Syria attacked Israel on their most holiest day of the year, which brought upon the 6-day war. And at that time, Israel gained, I think, 4 times of its size by the extra land they conquered. And this right here in Tel Dan, that's in the Golan Heights. So this is now elevated area. You're up in the mountains. Besides that area at that time, we looked down and Israel was just in the valley. I mean, they had no strategic, they would probably get defeated by most people attacking if that's what they had right now. Because they had no higher ground for war. They would have been attacked very easily. And I think at one point he was saying the width of Israel was 19 miles. And that's where they were also trying to attack them there to divide Israel. But this was key also because that was a water source. That water source feeds down into the upper part of Jordan. From the upper part of Jordan, it goes into the Sea of Galilee, and this is a life source for them when it comes to water. And then from the Sea of Galilee, it goes into the lower part of Jordan, and then from there, it goes into the Dead Sea, which the Dead Sea, we'll talk about that later, doesn't have that much water anymore. It's slowly starting to shrink. So here's some more pictures. So now we're going to Caesarea Philippi. And here again, it's pretty close by. It's actually, we didn't have to drive. A lot more water, very beautiful, lush. But there's also something else up here. There is a lot of pagan god sculptures. Herod loved that. And this is, as we walked up and we saw beautiful carvings and all the different things that have about their pagan gods. Some of the ladies are on our trip. What we were told is this is a spot that Jesus brought his disciples when he asked them, they all say this stuff about me, whom say you that I am? And the reason Jesus wanted to hear his disciples say this to him, because there, everybody was worshiping a different god. A god of this, a god of that, and they had you saw some signs, they described each god, what people worship them for, but Jesus wanted them to see, look around you, everybody here has a god that they're worshiping, and that's where Jesus asked them, whom say you that I am? He wanted to hear it from them, and at that time, he wanted them to see what everybody else was worshiping. Here's some more pictures around there. We got to go quick. We got, let's see, some more there. Go on. Okay, so now we're at Mount Bentel. So this is where one of the last stands that Israel was fighting against Syria there. One of the biggest tank battles that took place was right at the base there of Mount Bentel, so it's elevated. These sculptures right here are all made from old tanks that were pretty much destroyed, but some artists made them into nice, beautiful sculptures. So here you go. They have all these silhouettes of people with guns shooting down, and I believe that's Syria in the distance. Lebanon's back there. We were able to see Lebanon or no? Huge.
Might be from on the other side, yeah.
Okay, they have some. So that's how high we were.
3,600 feet.
3,600 feet. Some more tunnels. So they had bunkers up there because they were at war at the time. This is part of the upper part of the bunker. They're walking around. Some signs to see where we're at. Okay, now we get to Magdala. Magdala, that was our hotel. Does anybody know a girl with that name kind of in it? Mary. Yeah. All right, so this is the city she's from. And this is the hotel we stayed at. So this would have been, what video is this? Yeah, because he would have sat on this side to teach that way is what he was saying. So the hotel we stayed at, which obviously everything was planned for us, we didn't have a say in it, but it was phenomenal. It's a newer hotel, beautiful. I think it was built in what, 15 years ago, 14 years ago roughly. As they went through the process of getting the permits to build it, of course what they do everywhere in Israel, a lot more in Jerusalem. In Jerusalem it's constantly ongoing, but pretty much anywhere in Israel, they get an archaeological committee out there to dig to make sure that there's nothing that they're going to destroy. And within the first foot or two of digging, they found this synagogue right here. This synagogue was protected because it was buried by dirt. A lot of other synagogues you see that will show they've been destroyed and rebuilt, and a lot of times the first layer, the foundation, may be original, but a lot of the other rocks on top weren't. But this right here is original, and because Jesus spent a lot of time there, they're pretty much saying he would have definitely taught in this synagogue. And the beautiful part about it, as he stood, our tour guide was showing, where he would have stood when he spoke, where the Torah was read, and then the bench right in front of us is where Jesus would have sat when he was in the synagogue, which was cool because we're not allowed to go in there, but you can lean forward and touch. So we all touched the seat where Jesus would have sat. Let's keep going. So this is the synagogue. They built a cover over it to protect it so people would come and look at it. That's the first stone that they found when they dug. Was that the one? That's what gave it away, and the inscriptions on it gave them the date on how they knew that it was original and accurate. Some more of that. And our hotel pretty much backs up against the Sea of Galilee. Okay, inside our hotel in the lobby, they had a first century fish pool. So when the fishermen caught their fish, they brought it in there, put it in there, and then local people would come and buy the fish directly out of a fish pool. So it was cool. This is a synagogue that our hotel had on the back side of it. Church. Or their church, they call it? Was it a church or? Yeah. Oh, because it's a Roman Catholic.
That's a boat, the replica of a boat. This is art inside that. Mosaic. These are mosaics? We didn't go in there every time. Murals.
They told us we could go in there, but I was dressed in shorts and a tank top. It was so hot, so. The guy said you could come in, they'll give me a towel to wrap around me if you don't have pants. Danielle and I did not go inside this one. That's our tour guide, David. He's from Texas. He's born in Texas? Dallas, I think?
It's by the Sea of Galilee.
All right, next day. We're done. Magdala was experiencing that, knowing that it was an original synagogue, was very powerful. So you go down.
So we're going to go real nice and quick. We're going to first talk about the Mount of Beatitudes. This is the site that commemorates the Sermon on the Mount for Matthew, chapter 5, 6, and 7. Then we went to the Church of the Primacy of Peter, where Jesus Christ was resurrected, and he prepared a fish breakfast for his disciples. Then at Capernaum, the town of where Jesus was, we'll see an ancient synagogue where the house of Peter still kind of remains there. And we experienced an amazing private sailing. I think that was one of my most beautiful moments there in Israel on the Sea of Galilee. We visit a Jewish fishing boat, and this was excavated in the 1st century from a boat that was in the 1st century. And we also had a St. Peter's fish lunch And then we continued on to Yardenet, a baptismal site where we actually, those that wanted to get baptized in the Jordan River, we went down and we were fully immersed in the Jordan River. So a few pictures there. Just one more thing, when we went to the Church of the Primacy of Peter, we were able to go into the Sea of Galilee and put our feet into the sea there, and they had a lot of little fish. You know, have you guys seen sometimes at the state fair where they do the little eating at your feet? So it was really neat to see all that as well. Sometimes I don't know where all the pictures were, like where was this one at? This was on the way there to the Mount of Beatitudes. This was at the Mount of Beatitudes. Like they mentioned, there's a lot of churches that kind of claim their spots, so this was one of the churches from the Roman Catholic, I think, right? One of the things we noticed, a lot of cats especially in Israel part, so we're like, just a lot of cats roaming around.
That the Sermon on the Mount took place here. The first reason has to do with
Just one of this we don't have much time.
Just giving the explanation why they thought right there was the Mount of Beatitudes.
Exactly. This was the Sea of Galilee, some of those boats that we're going to be traveling on. A few pictures. As you can see, the Sea of Galilee from the Mount of Olives. This is kind of where Jesus probably would have given his Mount of Beatitudes, sorry. And lots of murals and pictures, especially the murals on the floor. That was always so beautiful. So as we would travel, we'd always try to find a place in the shade so that, our guide could give us some more in-depth information of what happened in that area. The same church, just on Mount of Beatitudes there. Mountain. Oh, we got a lot of them here. Keep going. This is the Church of the Primacy, there you go, of St. Peter's, so St. Peter's Church. And
that rock right there is what? It's supposed to be.
I don't remember.
Peter's Church, and he's the rock, so I don't know, is that the rock that he said that there was some significance to that rock, but they built it right inside of their church in the very middle. That's like that's their pulpit, I guess. Or it's right in front. That's their centerpiece. Who needs a flower arrangement? It's a rock.
What was beautiful is to see, because they had so many murals back then, This is in the Sea of Galilee, refreshing ourselves. Yeah. This is in the town of Capernaum. This is Jesus' town of how they called it. So here we're entering in. That's the one. Not this one, another one. So this is still Capernaum.
This is a synagogue.
This is the synagogue where what an ancient synagogue would have looked like, and the remains later on we'll see right around here is the remains of the house of Peter.
This synagogue was very huge.
Yeah.
Very big. 4 times bigger than you would have imagined for the size of the town. They're saying so that way it was almost like a point of pride for the size of it. That's how it was.
So underneath this, just like had Magdala, they protected it. This was the site of where they thought that Peter's house. Yeah, St. Peter's house.
That he would have lived in.
That he might have lived in. So of course that's what they want to do, is protect it from the elements and all that.
That's the church that was built on top of that, his house.
To kind of help preserve it and then to honor it as well. This is us getting ready going onto the boat, the worship boat as we called it. And a beautiful time. They always pull up whatever country you're up, the flag, and they have music. It was a very emotional time at the beginning.
We sing songs in a lot of the spots too.
Yeah. This was a Jewish national anthem, yeah.
the Sea of Galilee.
Okay. I think it's some of our singing on the boat. Just more singing.
We're only on day 3, and it's already been 40 minutes, so we can't show all these. There's a lot of videos I take. I love the videos, but go after this. This is the Sea of Galilee.
Good morning, guys.
But just go past it.
So this was when we went to the Jewish St. Peter's lunch. We ate that fish whole, almost.
Sorry, we weren't brave enough to eat the fish. We had just like a fillet.
This is an ancient Jewish fishing boat that they excavated in the Sea of Galilee, and so it went through such a huge ordeal trying to bring it out of the Sea of Galilee to help preserve it. So it was a very interesting process of how they helped preserve it. And then now it's on display in a little museum there. But the wood of it has such a variety of what types of wood it has. So it was amazing to see how they built fishing boats back then.
They insulated with foam as they dug it out, just so it wouldn't break into pieces. It was like she said, it was a crazy method that they had so many people. They had all these scholars that were there trying to figure out how to do it. And 2 fishermen, just like Jesus, big fishermen, said, "Hey, why don't you guys try it this way?" And they all stopped like, "Oh, that might actually work."
And this is on our way to the baptismal, going back in the days of Jesus.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, we're going fast here. This is the baptismal site on the Jordan side. So this is the baptismal side that we got baptized, but on the Israeli side.
There's a lot of pictures of you talking. You can talk and keep going, though.
That's what somebody said nobody wants.
See? And
So this is all of the candidates that got baptized. Quite a few of us.
half the group from.
Yeah, half the group. It was such a beautiful experience, What was also nice is that one of Sister Christy, her aunts, really wanted to come to Israel and get baptized. So she brought a little picture in a Ziploc bag and got baptized with her aunt. It was just very sweet. Okay, day 5.
All right. This one's an easy day. We're in Jericho Road. So this is, there. You see the road right there on the left side? They actually built is it a monastery, I believe? We weren't able to go that far down, but from a distance, it looks beautiful. And a lot of the stuff that they built into the mountains, they use natural rock, which is phenomenal. There's so as it was said earlier, a lot of the places we went to, there were scripture readings that would tie in the place to the Bible. So here we're reading about the Good Samaritan. There's Aaron and I, we both found those headscarves. The guy tied it for us, which was awesome because I wouldn't be able to do it again. On the way there, part of our driving, there's again some more of this artwork in the middle. There's the signs of where we were at. So this is zoomed in. Again, there's that road. It was pretty, I guess it was very unsafe because a lot of the turns you couldn't see what was coming up. So that's why they believe that the Good Samaritan account happened somewhere in here. I don't think that was the hotel that he took them to, though. There's sheep and goats in the distance. All right, where are we at here? Okay, so yeah, there's going to be a video we're going to watch. So now after all this, and we already experienced around the Sea of Galilee, we're driving down. We're going to be after Jericho is on the way to Jerusalem, so we're getting close to Jerusalem. And let's see. This is us driving through the tunnel. But now you guys are going to be in Jerusalem after this. I should have edited the video, sorry. It's like 5 minutes through this tunnel. It's the longest tunnel I've been in my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and honor to welcome you to the holiest place on earth. The holy city of Jerusalem is standing before us, and the center of the world, Mount Moriah, the Temple Mount, is right before your eyes. There is no place holier than this place. Welcome to the holy city of Jerusalem and the capital of the state of Israel. Fear not. You are going to have an opportunity to thank Almighty God and take photos and take in this miraculous moment in your lives, because we are now going to ascend to the campus of the Hebrew University.
Okay, so we're going to go to the campus, which has Mount Scopus up there. It's a beautiful lookout. That's what you see from a distance. Obviously, once we enter it, we've experienced all the different sites. When we were up there, we had a beautiful view of everything from a distance. We could zoom in. We have some beautiful views of this angle as well when we were on the Mount of Olives, which will be later. I'm not sure why we're focusing in on that golden ball. It's not a... Okay, then here we're going to Jerusalem. After that, we went to Bethlehem. We actually weren't really in the city of Bethlehem. It was right on the outskirts of it, but it was the field where the shepherds would have been, and it was pretty much in front of us. On the other side there is already Israel. That's how close everything is. So here's the shepherd's field. That was our tour guide, Johnny. He was a funny guy. In here, Sister Roxy's doing a devotional. It was so hot in there.
Like a cave.
It was a cave. Oh man, there was no air circulating in there.
That's where the shepherds would have.
Oh yeah. Okay, so then we walked out towards the field. We were able to go in. Kind of shows you where the cave that the shepherds would have slept in. This is the church. We have some artwork in there. We sang a couple songs in there. The acoustics were phenomenal. I have videos of that, but not on here, sorry. And then as we ate at a restaurant, that was beautiful artwork in the back. There was some cool restaurants with names out of the Bible. Here's the next one everybody will like. Actually, the one after. They're big on olive wood, so we went into kind of felt like we were prisoners. We went into this gated store. They locked the gate behind us, and we had to go look at all these oak or olive wood stuff. Daniela said keep moving, so we're not going to talk about that. Yeah. That was a funny one. Some more, a lot of artwork everywhere you go, and then we're at the next day.
We're zooming.
Yeah.
If you guys have questions, by the way, we don't feel like we have to rush through it. If there's a question that you guys have along the way, please ask. Thank you, Denisa, for being the first brave one to ask. But if anybody else has questions, please do. All right, because we're not here just to go through them. It's to make it more meaningful for you, what you guys like. One thing I wanted to say before we go on this day, as you were, Bethlehem is in the West Bank. So West Bank is, there's a wall between Israel and the West Bank, and you can see the wall with chain link fence and stuff, and razor wire there. So anyway, so that was just to give you an idea of the fact that even today, there's still a lot of conflict obviously going on there in Israel. All right, next we're talking about Jerusalem. So now we're in Jerusalem, and we're starting our visit in Jerusalem where everything started from the city of David. The city of David is the place where David conquered from the Jebusites and renamed it, and it was called Jebus, and renamed it Jerusalem, or called it Jerusalem, or the city of David. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and this is my part here today. This is our hotel in Jerusalem, Prima Kings, some street stuff there, City of David. Again, there's a lot of archways, one thing I forgot to say, in Jerusalem, you don't see color on the buildings. Everything is this color, this white color. Why? Because they're building with the stone that they have there. So everything looks kind of like the same color. The houses, the people, everybody looks the same. It's interesting that way. Okay, again, another talk right there in front before we go. Looking as we're in the city of David. The city of David, like it's a smaller area of the old city, and looking across to the valley of Kidron, which was right here. Valley of Kidron is like a canyon, you might call it here, 400 feet below, or 200 to 400 feet below Jerusalem, right? And this is like an Arab city across that didn't want to be part of Israel. So right now, their kids might want to, so they're like, don't have country or whatever, stuff like that. There's a lot of geopolitical. This is looking at the Mount of Olives. This is where the cemetery is. Maybe we'll talk about it later. This is like Orthodox Jews. So lucky for us, ahead of our group. So this is going towards the Hezekiah's tunnel, a tunnel where he took water from the Gihon spring, which was outside of the city, and brought it inside the city to the pool of Siloam. Well, ahead of us, they had this school of Jewish boys, right? They were, loud in front of us. So we were kind of lucky that they went ahead of us quite a ways. But it was fun to see them excited about what they see. Hopefully you guys are excited too. Hopefully you guys, not too many of you are sleeping. Maybe we need to turn on the AC a little lower. But anyway, hopefully you guys are still excited. There's a lot of ruins. When you look at them, I'll tell you the truth. You look at this ruins, there's rocks, right? But, they do have a meaning, right? Here's where the old city of David was, his house, his palace. Now, it takes you forever. Like I said, you have to do a study after study to read. We didn't have that time to read or to study. So I'm just showing you some ruins that they're building on top so you can see over down below. We're walking over the old city of David, okay? More of these ruins that they're built. Everything has some significance, and it would take, half a year to tell you all the significance of everything. And like I said, we're not experts in it. So then we're going towards the pool of Siloam through the Hezekiah's tunnel. Pool of Siloam was what they call a mikvah. A mikvah is a ritual cleaning bath. So the Jews, before they entered into the temple, they had to do a ritual cleaning. The way they did that, they went into this mikvah. Mikvah is like a bath made out of stone with steps that you went down in the water. Now, I read this before, and it was confirmed to me by the guy. The way you perform this ritual cleaning was completely naked. Completely naked. Of course, they have one for men and one for women, separate. But you would go there completely naked and come back out that way, and that's how they did it, and that's what they still do today, apparently. Interesting. I never, completely realized that. This is part of the water system going down to. We went down into the tunnels quite a ways, and a lot of keep going down the tunnels, and this tunnel was I'm not a big guy by any means, but. It was basically only this big. And it was a third of a mile, half an hour in complete dark. With water, initially the water was up to our knees and half thigh, and then later on the water was down to your, half your calves. But that's how, it was. Not everybody. Half the people didn't choose to go. But it was very fun. This was one of the more adventurous things you could do. If you're claustrophobic, you cannot do that. So this is there, right there in the dark. As you can see, there's water below us. We're in the water. Coming out of it, there's water going to the pool of what would have been the pool of Siloam, and these are all the people who went through that tunnel. Brother Steve was our leader, and coming up the stairs and going out towards the pool of Siloam. They call it Shiloah. And these are some of the steps next to the pool. Now, this has recently been found not too long ago, a few years ago, and they're still excavating it. They're still excavating this site. This was a huge mikvah, right? Because as the pilgrims were coming from somewhere else, they were going to the temple. This would be by the road on the way to the temple. So they would use this to purify themselves. And again, it was a large area. Large area. And you can see them digging there below.
Here's where they're excavating.
You can see
they recently just found the pool of Shiloh. And they're working on it even now. There's our group.
There you go. So they're working on it. So, yes. Oh, okay. Siloam is the pool of Siloam, right? But they say it's Shiloah. They say it differently. A lot of the things they say, our guy would say it in his language. I know. Okay, so next thing we visited a museum, the Israel Museum. Here what we saw was a replica of the city of Jerusalem, like as big as our sanctuary here. That's how big the city of Jerusalem was set up. Okay, as you can see, that's down there. So the temple, this is the temple area. This is the old city of Jerusalem. The temple being, you can see how large it was back then. It was an impressive sight to see as you're walking up to it. This is the temple right here. This is one of the entrances. I'm not sure if it's Solomon's colonnade or whatever name it had. But people would come here from the Pool of Siloam. Pool of Siloam was down here. They would walk up. It's a steep road. They walk up a road. There are some stairs here, which we'll talk about. They would enter in through this gate, and they would be here in the courtyard of the temple. All right, so you'll see a little bit of that later on here. And this is a large area. You could walk all the way around. As you can see the size of it. It was, you could spend the whole day just learning about how the city of Jerusalem would have looked like. As you can see, it's a replica built out of stone and so on. I don't think we have time to show that.
Two last things, and we're going to continue.
So Jesus could have either been crucified right.
Anyway, something there. We couldn't film or take a picture in this area. This area is where they are storing the Dead Sea Scrolls. Have you guys heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls? Right. So this is where they're storing in this. As you can see, this looks like a lid from a jar, right? That they would have found. Okay, so that's.
There's water sprinklers that go over that all day long.
Oh yeah. It's design. It's art design, from what they were told us. Next, so we did go inside. We looked at the scrolls. You can see Isaiah's scroll was all rolled out for us, but we couldn't take pictures of it. It was all rolled out, and it was the prior to finding of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the earliest manuscript of the Old Testament was roughly from the year 1000 A.D. Once these Dead Sea Scrolls were found out, that pushed back the manuscript by more than 1,000 years. So then they compared the Isaiah scroll from the Dead Sea Scrolls to the one they had, and it was very, very close to each other. They're almost identical with each other. 1,000 years of copying, and they were still very, very close to each other. So another proof of, because a lot of skeptics would say, oh, how can you tell that you got the real Bible? Well, the people who copied it took great care to copy it. Next, we went to a Holocaust museum, or memorial. It's Holocaust Museum, Yad Vashem Holocaust Museum. There is an inscription in Ezekiel at the front of it, here at the front of it, which says, "And I will put my spirit within you, and you shall live, and I will place you in your land." From the valley, the dry bones. This is the way it looks inside. It's kind of a, gray-looking building, but some of the pictures from Nazis, Holocaust. There's a lot of memorials outside. Now, this picture here showed which countries had Jews in blue before World War II, and how many of them were killed during World War II. The reason why I put it here, because Romania, I looked at Romania. Romania is right here. So half the Jews in Romania were also killed during the Holocaust. Romania had like 800,000 Jews, and about 400,000 of them were killed during the Holocaust. The biggest percentage of country was Poland. You can see Poland, the blue was before 3 million Jews. Almost all of them were killed during the Holocaust.
And I want to just add that they also kept track.
I'll show you that.
They wanted to keep track of how many people they killed. And their goal was actually to kill 11 million, not 6. So they had it by each country to tell how many there were. And that was just so brutal to hear that.
Yeah.
That their goal was even greater than the 6.
So some of the pictures we did take there. So this last area was what they call the Book of Names area, where they wanted to have every person that was killed during the Holocaust be named in a book. So these are some of the pictures and some of the things about them, and each one of these books have names of them, of people who were killed, and they said there's some empty ones because they haven't completely done it yet, so they're still doing it. Okay, more around, some more things around that area. Okay, and then we left.
Did you see the Children's Museum?
Yes, that was. I think one of these was a children's museum.
3 candles light the whole thing with me.
Yeah, you can see names out as you're walking around.
Yeah, we did.
You can see the names of the countries of the kids.
Yes, we did see that. It was in the dark, so we couldn't. Yeah. Okay, now going back to Jerusalem. Now after their tour, we had like 2 or 3 hours free time, and oftentimes we would go in on our own to visit. So we visited a market nearby, about 20 minutes away. This is a market in nearby, Jaffa Gate, and so on. Okay. Oh, I'm the next one too. So day 7. The visit today was at Western Wall. We got a guided tour from one of the Western Heritage Foundation. They gave us a tour in the tunnels. And then we saw some more of the ruins and so on. So let's go. This is at the Western Wall. Let me see here. On the men's side. It's divided on the men's and the women's side. So it's divided that way. This happened to be, I think, on a Thursday. So from what I understand, from what our guy was saying, on Mondays, on Thursdays, and on Saturday, which is a Sabbath, that's when the Jews do have readings from Scripture. And what he said is, all Jews everywhere, regardless where they're at, whether they're in Israel, whether they're in Europe, whether in America, they all read the same Scripture reading each day of each time they go, because it's all prescribed by them. They all read the same section of the Torah. The Torah is the first 5 books. Ezra from the Bible, he's the one who devised those type of readings. So that way, he was saying, the local pastor is not the one who chooses the reading for the day, but it's already prescribed for them. So all of them they show their unity in that way, I guess. Anyway, so it happened to be on a Thursday. So people came and they had their readings. They were reading and praying and, putting and so on. Some people put prayers in there. I didn't put prayers there, but Mirla put prayer. Okay, more about the Western Wall. It was pretty busy. The ladies apparently didn't have a room to even go there and barely touch it. But
Ladies looking over to the gentleman.
yes, here the ladies are looking over to the guy. Say why? Because one of the young men was having his bar mitzvah. So they were loud and cheerful and having. And the little boy, 13 years old, he was carrying a scroll of the Torah with him, and he was reading it. And so that's where they're looking, probably family, looking over to the men's side. Okay, this is the plaza in front of the Western Wall. This is a Yemenite Jew who befriended us and later on asked for donations.
I'm here at the Western Wall. I have no idea what's going on in the air.
Anyway, so they're praying over there at the wall. The reason why it's one of the holiest sites, we'll tell you in a second here, because there's the Western Wall, which there's still I forget how many feet left, and then there's also the Southern Wall, which was left from that time too. But I'll tell you in a second. So then we had another guide who gave us from the Western Wall Foundation, and she gave us a great tour also underneath. This is now going underneath in the tunnels of the Western Wall. And she gave us, important talks. So we're going down. There's a synagogue almost everywhere. They even have a synagogue here in the tunnels. Now, you can see here, she made us do this. Here, Brother Steve is touching this, and somebody way back then, we were 26 in our party, is touching that. From this to that area, it's all one huge rock. One huge rock, like, I don't know how many, 700 tons. All right, that was Herod. Herod, as I mentioned Sunday, Herod was a builder, a great builder. So he renovated the temple, and he was a great builder. Walking through the tunnels, the reason why Western Wall is considered such a holy site, because it's the closest remaining structure to the Holy of Holies. All right, so where the Holy of Holies in the temple was, this Western Wall is the closest structure that's still left. That's why they consider it such a holy spot. All right, and as we walked through the tunnels, there was one area where she said, right here, in this spot, is the closest you can come to where the Holy of Holies was. I forgot where we took that picture, but anyway. So then we got out of the tunnels, we walked through the Jewish quarter. He didn't talk much about Via Dolorosa because he seemed to think this was not the right Via Dolorosa. So we didn't spend a lot of time talking about this. And then we go to the southern section of the wall on the other side. So this is the western side, and this is the southern side of the wall. We're right there. These walls are still huge. Basically, this is a platform for the temple. It wasn't the wall around the temple yet. It's just a platform. Herod leveled out that Mount Zion, Mount Moriah, leveled it out, and to level it out like a retaining wall, he built this platform, and this is the western wall. It's a huge 60 to 80 feet, or they say, 80 feet. Right now it's 80 feet tall. It was 200 feet at one, when it was first built. So it's a huge area. This is now looking at the southern wall. Remember I told you how pilgrims came from the Pool of Siloam. They walk up a steep road and end up here on the steps. These are the steps, the actual steps still remaining from the time of Jesus. They walk up these steps and through the gates. There's 2 gates here. They're blocked off, and there's 3 more here. They would walk through these gates into the temple area. Okay? So an interesting thing here is these are the gates, 3 gates. You see they're blocked off. Okay, interesting thing that happened here in 1994.
We're gonna run out of time, Sorin.
I know, but
You gotta go quicker.
I don't think we won. I don't think you guys, we just want to rush through it. Okay, 1994, the astronaut Neil Armstrong. Now, if you guys are visited, you can tell us to go fast or not. It's up to you guys. Astronaut Neil Armstrong visited the southern steps of the temple. And Armstrong asked, so Jesus stepped right here? And his guide said, yes, that's right. So then Neil Armstrong says, I have to tell you, as he bent down to kiss the ground, I am more excited stepping on these stones than I was stepping on the moon. That's what Neil Armstrong said. So one of our parties did just that. All right, so some more things around the Jewish quarter.
That was the real menorah that we plan on.
That's the menorah from the next site, which is the Temple Institute, where this organization is dedicated to the study of the temple construction and ritual and the development of the actual temple, ritual objects, garments, and so on. We couldn't take pictures, too many pictures here either, but this is some of the representations they have. Getting ready for the next temple, the third, what they call the third temple. The first temple was Solomon. The second one was during the time of Jesus. That was destroyed by Romans. And now the next one is going to be the third temple. Yeah, they have some things ready.
So that big menorah is what's going to go into the third temple. It's ready to go. That's it.
All right, that's it for that.
So Qumran. That's the next place we went to. It's a remote area in the Judean wilderness where some shepherd was lost or his sheep was lost. Who knows? This is where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? Yeah, perfect. So we got to, it would have been a cave similar to that. Obviously, nobody knows which one. But a lot of these caves, you can see how there's an opening through there. They're awesome how God formed those. You go in there and rest wherever you want. Here's some more of the caves in the background. Okay. The cool part about this is they were talking about they call them, yeah. Well, he was a shepherd, but then they were the Essenes. And they were talking about a lot of their practices. They ascribed a lot to water baptism. So our guide was saying that there's a very good possibility that John the Baptist would have stopped there and studied with them and learned a lot of scripture. That's why he was really into water baptism after that. Then we talked a little bit about Masada on Sunday night. This was Herod's fortress up on the mountaintop. You had to take a cable car just to get up there. This was a little bit of a vacation for him because him being the leader of the Jews, he didn't really practice what he preached in a sense. He was involved in a lot of simple activities, so he wanted that as a little vacation spot to go do whatever simple things he wanted to do. And this was a replica of how it looked in its heyday. The top would have been where his house was. The middle would have been the restaurant, feeding place, the common ground, and then the guests would have stayed in the lower spot. And this was built on the mountaintop. There were still a few ruins of that. We didn't get to go down there. I believe you were able to. We just didn't at that time. Part of the experience walking there, there's a cable car. It was so packed on the way down. One person in our group had a hard time with a little bit of anxiety there. To the right, you can see, so this is at the bottom of Masada when the Romans were surrounding them. So this was the last stand. A lot of the zealots, the Jewish zealots, fled up there. There was over 900 of them. And the Romans built these platforms where they actually went up with it and then connected to the top of the mountain to get in there. The way it ended, you can find out on your own if you really want to find out. We won't. Okay.
Daniel,
Yes?
I just want to let you know that Kimberly walked up there. A little trail.
We
all
would
the way
have
from the
loved to,
bottom.
but they said that you can't when we were there. They said because of the heat that they won't let anybody walk up there. Yeah. They said a lot of people walk up there, but right now that it's closed off. You can't walk up there because there's trails along the mountain now. So that's why it's also a national park, because people like to go there and hike it. So that's awesome that you're able to do that. So that's Masada, but now we're at the Dead Sea. Dead Sea was awesome. The Dead Sea, let's see. The girls put some Dead Sea mud on them because it's full of minerals, right? You know what? After you went into the Dead Sea water and you got out, your skin was silky smooth. Actually, there's a hospital from Germany that they said that they send, we're floating in the water. They send a lot of the psoriasis patients and people who have skin issues to the Dead Sea on a 10-day retreat because it helps them with their skin. So it's really that good and healthy. What were you going to say, Sorin?
See what we're reading? Here, I took from the book with Apostolic. There you go.
We all share and take pictures.
So here's a video of me floating.
Here's Daniel going in the Dead Sea, ready to float. Yep.
The water was
Let's
so
see.
hot. Okay. You know, I mean, that's all 100 pounds of me, just so you know. Look at it. Wow.
Woo!
Anyways,
That's so awesome.
really quickly, watch as I try to stand up. It was harder to stand up than anything else. You have to like try to shove your feet to the bottom as hard as you can. 2 or 3
Floating in the
times.
Dead Sea.
Okay. Hurry up, hurry up.
Is it hot or is it cold?
Oh, it is so hot. Now, look, now is when I'm going to try to stand up.
Okay, let's see you
I
get
have to
up.
forward and I can't. I'm fighting, trying to put my
Okay.
feet to the ground.
You can't even get up.
Okay. Woo! Finally did it. And then, of course, afterwards, you should go wash off because the salt is so strong. They also had a salt pool in there. That experience in the water, really quickly, this whole entire trip is, you know, you have faith in the Bible. I had a hard time believing that I would float when I went there. I'm like, all right, this is going to be hard to believe. You know, I have a little bit of weight on me. Like, I could really lay back and the water would support me. It taught me a lesson of faith. And that's the whole trip of Israel was like that for me, where even though I believe it, experiencing it made it that much more believable. After I experienced the Dead Sea, that's what, like, the light bulb went off. Like, okay, this is real. You could actually float. And that's how I felt about this whole trip. Like, the Bible is real when you read it, but it came to life so much more that it suddenly just, like, it became alive. And then, okay, this is really powerful right here. This was on Friday. Friday evening is the beginning of Shabbat. And there's Sister Merrill lighting a candle. Shabbat starts with, I have to read this really quickly because we were wondering, oh, I was holding it in my hand trying to start it. It said the women typically light the candle to begin Shabbat because of them giving the fruit to Eve and causing the candle and the relationship between man and God to go out. They want to do that to reignite the passion and the spark between them and God. So that's why the woman traditionally lights the first candle to start the dinner. And here's our tour guide. He is breaking bread. He was actually, it was a traditional Shabbat dinner that evening because he was also reading the prayers. But I believe the women, didn't he say the woman normally reads the prayer too, right? Or I forgot exactly. But he's reading the prayer, breaking the bread, saying the prayers, and then pass it on. Later on that night, this was just fun. We went out in the town, walked around. The girls had a little modeling session there. Look at the big church behind us. It looks phenomenal. I mean, everywhere you go, there's just the architect is so beautiful. Some more beautiful lights. And we're done next day. This is actually one of my favorite days that Morella gets to talk about.
Okay. Well, I was so excited. I'm so grateful, thankful to go on this trip. It was amazing. So on this day, we did quite a lot, and it was one of my favorites. I guess, as you could see, we went to Mount Olives, the Palm Sunday route, Garden of Gethsemane. We visited a couple of churches, and then we went to the garden too. So, oh, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry. Okay, so this is our group who went. We're on the Mount of Olives. We took a picture. We got to see the wall again. And this is the Mount of Olives. On the Mount of Olives, there's a lot of course, olive trees. And our tour guide, of course, talking there, and he was telling us, as you could see the walls, he was having us look in the background to see the walls. You see the cemetery. I guess the Jews, they say these are very expensive tombs that you could, if you want to be buried, because they believe this is, like you guys, a lot of you know, when Jesus comes back on the Mount of Olives, this is where the first Jews are going to be raised up and go to heaven.
Actually, a lot of non-Jews are also Christians are want to be buried there.
Yeah, and as you can see, rocks up there. When people, like, let's say their mom or dad, they go visit, they put a rock on. So that's a, yes. So there's lots of tombs all around. So, and then we started going down the hill, which the very steps where Jesus would walk to the Garden of Gethsemane, and he prayed with his disciples. It was very steep, and then we got to the garden. There's very old olive trees over here. As you guys could tell, they're very large, and there's one that was really very, very expensive, but it was very special to be there and to see actually how Jesus would pray there. So, like I said, the Mount of Olives, that's where Jesus is supposed to come back. And then we went, let's see, to the Church of St. Peter. This is where actually Peter said about the rooster that, this is actually where they built a church, and where Peter, I guess, denied Jesus, and the rooster crowed. So anyway, this church, it was kind of very special. We went inside there, we went down there, and we sang. As you guys could see, this right here, it's a road that goes up to Gethsemane. So you guys I think there's a few more pictures. Daniel and Daniel, they're in front of the church, with a very special door, painted very nice. We really like that. And then we went inside, and we went down there, and Meryl had like a devotion for us, and then we sang. I don't know if we have a video, if you guys want to hear it for a little bit. Just for a little bit. So we're down there, where Jesus was arrested, and he was down. Caiaphas' house. Yeah. All right. So those are the stairs behind Daniel and Daniel, where Jesus would have walked. And, the Lord looked at Peter, and he wept bitterly. And actually, our tour guide said those are actually hittings. Okay, so those are the stairs, really nice. And then we went to the upper room, and they built a church again. And this is the inside. It's very nice. I love the ceiling of this one, and we sang a song there too. It was very special. It's very good acoustics in here.
Once again, we're in the upper room where the Passover meal took place. And the Holy Spirit fell on the day of Pentecost. We're here with our group right now. 2 more coming. We're going to sing a song together.
Okay, so we'll skip it. Yeah?
You can skip it. I said you play it. It might be loud.
Oh, you want to play the song? Okay, and then we went from here, we went to, let's see, so this is still the city of David. So we walked down to this big church right here. This is called the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It's one of the largest churches that we visited, and it had a basement like with 2 floors down. And when you go down there, so this is one spot, As you guys could see, they have a dome with no ceiling. The light was so nice. And right here on this side, oh wait, oh yeah. So right here they built where there's a big line of people. They built like this little building, and people are going inside. We don't know what they seen, but we're thinking something.
That's
holy.
where,
Likely this site.
no, that's where a tomb, right?
Yeah, they think that's where.
That's where the
Yeah.
tomb of Jesus, they built
Yeah.
over it,
But
the
it's-
chapel over it.
Yeah, and then people come over here and they kiss and they pray
That's where
to
they
this
took
spot.
Jesus off the cross and anointed him.
Yeah, right here.
Come there and there's a rock there and they kiss the rock.
And people put like handkerchiefs, or I even seen a boy putting like a Spider-Man or something on the mom's like, oh, pray for him. Anyway, so, and it's really cool. We went like almost 2 floors down, and then David, you could see David right there. There's like a little hole right there. It's like a really small room where we went. He said that might be another place where Jesus might be buried, but nobody knows.
No, there's just like a replica of
Yeah, a replica.
what it looks like.
Okay, so you could see how deep we went down. It was very cool. And then we went to the garden tomb. And in the garden tomb, this was probably one of my favorite places. And first, we sat down and they showed us this spot right here. There was a picture, how it used to look like in the early 1900s. So this is where Golgotha was. And as you guys could see, they say the place is called, there's like 2 eyes and a mouth. This was the old picture. I think the 2 eyes and mouth, but there's a lot of plants, and I couldn't really see it like there. But this is where Golgotha was, and the garden tomb. And they think this is another place that they think Jesus might have been buried. And we got to go inside. And in this garden tomb, they have a lot of areas where you could sit down and pray. This is the inside, by the way. And this is this is the inside behind the fence, or they think might be the tomb. And the good news for us, by the way, there's a lot of places, I don't think we have a picture, but we sang. There's a place where, while these guys sing a little bit, I was just going to say there's a lot of places where people come with a group of churches, and they take the Lord's Supper, and they also sing and pray. We had a very good prayer meeting here. And we sang some songs. They were very special. I really liked that. So, but the good news is that Jesus rose from the tomb, and that's very exciting. All right.
So on the next day, which was Sunday, we depart from the Ben Gurion airport to fly to Eliat Avara border, and that's where we were crossing on and going now into the Jordan River. There's a section in there where it was no man's land, so it wasn't part of Israel, it wasn't part of Jordan. You were kind of in no man's land, so that was kind of
How did you get across?
walked over. We
Yeah,
walked with
walked
all of our
across the
luggage. And our tour guide could not come to Jordan because they were not allowed to go into Jordan, the Israelis. So we had to go all on our own in no man's land. And this is the princes and the kings in Jordan. Huh?
This is pretty cool. We're
Yeah.
in the southern That's part. just that area.
The areas where,
That's all it was, the 2 borders.
yeah, just passing through the Jordan border there, and kind of doing our passports, making sure we're clear through. And as we came in, then one of the closest city near where we were there was
We had a new
Aqaba.
tour guide that was waiting for us in a bus there. We didn't just walk across, because now we have to get a new tour guide from Jordan.
And we're heading over to the Sun City camp, which is in Wadi Rum. And this is where we stayed for one night and basically glamping, so to speak. So this was fun and scorching hot. So this is Sun City Camp. This was where we ate, and lots of amazing, beautiful rock and red sand. What was interesting about this one is that they said this dome thing, they imported it from Germany. So they've had a couple different ones to help protect it. So that was really neat to hear that. One of the mornings they had hot air balloons, so that you could go on a hot air balloon. This was kind of their lobby there, where we had little snacks and waters and stuff. And it was scorching hot that day. We took these jeeps and had kind of a jeep ride through the sand dunes, and just traveling through the area there. And we found a couple spots where we all took lots of pictures. This was inside of the little tent dome. Here's our jeep ride, and the tour guides showing us some of their magic plants, I guess, and that's how they used to wash their hands. It's from one of the plants.
Soap, as he was showing us, it was pretty cool.
So that plant is what you use to find it and to wash your hands. So that's how they would use their soaps to wash their hands and sanitize. We took a camel ride. A few of us did a camel ride, so that was an exciting part as well. Lots of little drawings. He used rocks, I guess, some rocks to kind of make some makeup and stuff of what they would have back then.
He's doing it right now.
And he's showing you how they use it. Just scratch the rocks and put it on. Our group here. Okay, this was inside. And we're on to day 11.
Don't worry, there's only 18 days.
Actually, one more day, we're done.
All right, so basically, I think this is it, but, oh, one more? Okay, so sorry, one more. Okay, so this is, now we're moving on to Petra, and Petra is very beautiful. So this was our hotel where we stayed, and then we got here in the morning, we got ready, and we started hiking. That was our bus. And this is our group, and we started hiking. That's how hot it was. And on this map right here, I guess you could do some hikes. Basically, you start about here, and you could go through this. What they do now is they used to have carriage or horses, and they used to basically you could go walk through the horses would take you. So basically, you get to this first Petra. Oh, sorry, this one, let me go back. This right here, this is called, the first one, it's called the Treasury. And people take now golfing carts. You could pay and get it there. And this area has a lot of vendors, a lot of people with camels, people take pictures in front of the camels. And then Daniela and I and Daniel and if you guys know Barry, Gail's brother, we walked, I think, 800 steps. I'm not sure how many miles is that one.
9 miles.
About 9 miles, really far. These might look the same, but they're not. This is called the Treasury, and this is called the monastery. This was almost double than this. So on the way there, we hiked, and like you guys could see those tents. There's a lot of vendors, a lot of caves where people that live there. Anyway, they live in those. It's a national park. They sleep there. Daniel and Daniel taking a break with Barry. This on the way back. Yeah, over there. So the people that build, like there's a lot of like right here. This is called right here. This whole area. There's like the tombs of the kings. There's so much to visit. You need more than a day. They're very famous, and a lot of people love to go visit. Like you guys could see right here, a lot of vendors on the way there. But they have these beautiful carved rocks everywhere.
These guys are where the Nabateans.
The Nabateans was the tribe. That's what I was going to mention next. And also Romans were in here. And I thought the Romans built this, but it's the Nabateans. This is actually a rock. They didn't bring rocks. This is the real rock. And they built the Colosseum right there. And there's also like roads. That's a Roman road we walked. Also the king built like a palace. There's a palace. And then, like I said, us 5, we started walking, climbing up. It's a very steep, very heavy, going to the top. And even on the way, there's like little boys selling you stuff, or girls. So yeah, this is when we got to and also going down. Lots of steps, very hot, very, very deserty, lots of camels. But it's very beautiful here. So this is, like I said, this is called the monastery. This is the one that you go 800-something steps, about 9 miles up. No, this is back.
They're just carved into the stone mountain, and it looks like it has an entry. You could was like a little tiny room in a couple, but you really can't
Yeah.
get the size. You know, these are carvings in the stone mountains.
Yeah, so people actually, let me go back. So all this whole thing, people carved. It's real rock. And inside there, you could look, there's, on this one, you could look a little bit better, yeah. But it's really nice, I definitely recommend. I love that. This was really beautiful. All right, so moving on to the next day. Sorry. Get us out of there.
Now we are in Bethany, which is on the other side of Jordan. And this is where John the Baptist was baptizing. This site right here on the picture on the right is where John the Baptist could very well have baptized Jesus Christ at. This is the next. So behind Danielle and I there is the Jordan River. This is the lower part of the Jordan River, how we had it from the upper going into the Sea of Galilee. I mean, the stream is only like a couple feet away. When we went down to the baptismal site on the Jordan side, which we got baptized on the Israel side, there were people getting baptized, but there were guards on both sides. You could probably swim across to the Israel side like within less than 10 seconds, but there was guards on both sides, so if you like trying, you can't. But that's how small the Jordan River was as it kept getting lower and lower. Then we went up to Mount Nebo. They had a big stone that was a replica of a stone that they would have used over a cave. There you go. There's the cross with the serpent on from when Moses was, yeah. And this at the very top is where Moses would have stood when God told Moses to look out in the distance. That's the promised land, but he wasn't going to step foot in Jerusalem. So this was at the top of Mount Nebo there. And they had a lot of mosaic too inside of there. They had a church there. So when you go into churches, your head has to be uncovered, just like we do here. But when you go into a synagogue, they wanted the men to have their head covered because it was a sign of the fact that the buck stops here. There's somebody above you who's greater, which is God. That's what I was researching. Why do they even wear that? That was one of the reasons why, to let you know that there's somebody greater than you, and there's a gap between you and God, that God is higher. And then we went to Madaba. Not quite sure why. The biggest thing that they found in Madaba, there was a church there that had this mosaic on the ground that showed all the different churches throughout Israel, which was done a long time ago. So that's why they use that as a map to go and find a lot of these churches, or synagogues, not churches. And that's why the Jews had that as a reference point to say that land was theirs way before the Syrians or Muslims or anybody else was there, because this was done thousands of years earlier, and it showed the synagogues there. And we're there again. There's that. There's a lot of artwork everywhere. Our hotel had a swimming pool, different people walking around. Jordan was definitely not the as clean and as safe, if you will, even though we felt safe the whole time as Israel. Israel was a completely different site. And now we're going to just show you a couple pictures of food as Danielle and I go in the back and get some of the food out, so you guys can come and some too.
How long? 5 minutes?
Yeah, perfect. Real quick.
So 5 minutes for the food. This is flying on the way back from Amman to Vienna. We stopped in Vienna, and they were playing classical music on the plane before it took off. Very nice. So this is some of the food. I have 80 slides with food, but we're not going to make you hungry. We're just going to skip very quickly. We ate very good. The only thing about, as I mentioned about, Jerusalem. Jerusalem was a kosher. This is the market. Everything was holy. They have a holy bagel, holy cafe, holy something. Shawarma place where we ate one day. Ice cream, holy cafe. This is in Jordan at the tents. Basically, we had 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch. I ate so much breakfast and dinner that I couldn't eat lunch. Actually, when they told me, "Oh, you have to eat lunch," it's like I almost felt sick. So I didn't. That's why we didn't eat a lot of lunch, or Mira and I. But this is, there's so much food. This is one of the sweets called kanafe. It's very, very good. If you go to a Mediterranean place here, try it. This is all in the market in Israel. Halva. Halva is very good. One of the meals. A lot of bread. Shawarma. knafe. Anyway. So it's amazing. The breakfast was like from here to the church, or longer. It was full of all you can eat buffet. I mean, all you can eat buffet, all kinds of stuff. So we were, there's a plethora, an abundance of food. And I was going to say about Jerusalem. Oh, you guys know what this is? Is that fish? That's the fish. That's what I had for breakfast a lot of times. It was basically almost like not fish, but like almost raw fish, but herring, all kinds of fish. Our restaurant in Israel, in Jerusalem, was kosher. What that means, you couldn't mix dairy and meat. You couldn't have any dairy, no cheese, no nothing, and meat at the same time. So that's what they did. And on Shabbat, Daniel didn't tell you, but they couldn't cook. The staff couldn't cook anymore after Friday night. So on Saturday morning, for those people who drink coffee, guess what kind of coffee they drank? Coffee that was brewed the day before. And that's what they drank, coffee like that. So anyway, so this is more food. There's just tons of food available. Even with all the food, I didn't gain any pounds. So that was the knafe. Okay, so that's it. This is the end, the last slide with the food. So I definitely, we all had a great time for various reasons. And as I mentioned at the beginning, God invited us, and we came. One of these days, God might invite you, and hopefully you accept the invitation and you go and experience for yourself. Again, for various reasons that people have gone, but we got to see. It's one thing to hear about it, one thing to see it on TV, but it's another thing to be there and experience it, and experience with the people we enjoyed being around. We had a great time with everybody. We got to know each other a little bit better, and it was a great time. May the Lord bless you, and hopefully you took something out of it. If not, maybe you can ask us. We'll tell you more of the stories and later on. All right, Brother Pete, you want to...